If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, what do you do to get this thing going back in the right direction? How do you overcome a loss like you suffered in Philadelphia? I think the answer is simple. Welcome back to Mike Drop Sports, everybody. I'm Jason. Let's talk about this football team here on a Tuesday and dive into a little bit of what they need to do in order to get back on track, because I don't really think that there's much that needs to be done. The only thing that needs to be done is what they've done throughout this season. And that has been adapt and overcome and just figure it out. Just figure it out. Just simply go into that building inside on South Water Street and just get to work. And that's what I think this Pittsburgh Steelers team has done over this season. They've adjusted, they've adapted, they've overcame each and every situation that's been presented to them. They are a 10-4 football team leading the AFC North Division currently, with an excellent opportunity sitting in front of them Saturday to go out there and take the AFC North Divisional crown here in Week 16. That is a special thing, and that should not be discounted. And the Steelers have put in the work all season to get to that position. They've had some balls bounce their way. They've had some things not go their way. They've had a lot of situations that have been very trying. They've had some injuries. They've had to adapt that offensive line early in the season to get it serviceable and to get it on the correct path, which I think they've done for the most part. But the Steelers overall have been able to do what good football teams do, and that is figure it out. And that is exactly what this team is going to do. But I want to talk a little bit today also, what do the Steelers do well? What do they need to get to in relation to beating the Baltimore Ravens? What do they do well that would benefit them this Saturday against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore? And I think it's some of the things that you haven't really seen a ton. I think that is the incorporation of one Pat Freiermuth, a guy that's literally been lights out here recently, but hasn't had a ton of targets, that hasn't been involved as much as you would like to see. And I think if the Steelers go out this Saturday and utilize Pat Freiermuth in a big way and allow Russell Wilson to really lean on Pat and to really take some pressure off of that wide receiver group, I think that spells success for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that spells success for everybody. The run game, the deep pass threat, the offensive line, Russell Wilson. It gets Pat Freiermuth involved, the guy that you just paid a hefty contract to. And I think it's imperative this week to really include him. And I know some are going to scream, Darnell, the rest of that tight end room. I think it's going to be Pat. I think that's what you have to focus on, and I love Darnell Washington. I like Connor Hayward. I don't think he's really been utilized either. McCole Pruitt doesn't excite me, not even a little bit. I think really, honestly, you need to see a heavy dose of Pat Freiermuth and a little bit of Darnell Washington, and I think that right there breeds success. You remember a Patriots team many years ago now, which is crazy because I remember it so vividly, that utilize two tight end sets, but utilize them to their advantage. Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers possess two tight ends that can do that same type of thing. And I think if you're Arthur Smith, I think getting in the lab this week and really emphasizing that tight end room, really utilizing them in the correct way, I think will bring success no matter who is in the wide receiver room. And I think, again, it just will trickle down throughout the whole offensive unit. And when that offense succeeds and controls the ball and controls the time of possession, it only elevates the play of the defense. And I think, honestly, guys, the answer is simple. How do you get back on track? How do you get this ship righted? That is the tight ends. I've been preaching it all offseason, all this whole season here through 15 weeks, that you have to get these guys involved. When you saw last season a performance from Pat Freiermuth in Cincinnati to where he had 120 yards, I think that's accurate. It was close to that, if not over that. 12 catches, I believe, that day. That's where you need to be with Pat, because I think that just moves the chains. I think that moves the football. And that's what you got to do if you're the Steelers. And if you're Russell Wilson, you need to utilize those tight ends not only in the short pass game, but the intermediate pass game also, hitting them up the seam also. You need to mix them in many, many different ways. And it doesn't hurt to catch them on a drag route. It doesn't hurt to catch them going up the seam like you have seen with big Darnell Washington up the seam where it worked oh so well. And again, I would just go to them. If I'm Russell Wilson, I would just go to those tight ends so early and often. And I think that gets you on track and really keeps and limits the effect of a Lamar Jackson, of Derrick Henry, of that offense as a whole. I think that keeps them sidelined and really gives the Steelers the advantage and the edge in this football game. And again, it gives the defense time to get that rest, get that energy level built back up for the next time they take the field. And you're going to see that pass rush really become elite each and every down as the game goes on and they slowly wear down that offensive unit for the Baltimore Ravens. You'll start to see the Pittsburgh Steelers hit home, be successful late in the game, causing those turnovers that are so important in these big divisional, big rivalry type games. These turnovers and time of possession literally mean everything for the football game. And yes, I consider things like missed field goals turnovers. So you got to really pay attention to those two portions of the game. But guys, tight ends. You're going to hear me preach it all week for the rest of the week now. Now that we're past that loss in Philadelphia in Week 15, we got to look forward here if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you got to go with these tight ends. It's time. You've wasted this whole season in terms of not utilizing them, and I don't understand why you've wasted that time because they are able to be effective. They are able to carry this offense, and I'm telling you that now. And again, if you are Arthur Smith and you don't come out and utilize these tight ends, I'm not talking just put them out on the damn football field like you see the 12, 13 personnel sets all the time. I'm talking about utilizing them. I'm talking about getting them involved in the game, my friends. Not to sit there and just use them as decoys or blockers. Get them involved in the pass game and allow them to start to shine. Allow them to start collecting some touchdowns. Allow them to springboard you to a possibility of being a top-seeded team inside of the AFC Conference playoffs. That's what has to be done. Guys, I'm going to say it one last time. What fixes everything for this football team? I'm talking everything. Defensively, offensively, everything. Helps the coaching. Is that tight end room. It has to be used. It cannot be ignored any longer. You have the 10-4 Pittsburgh Steelers heading in to face the 9-5 Baltimore Ravens in a divisional game that is for all the marbles for the Steelers. If the Baltimore Ravens win, that doesn't put them into the division championship right away. But if the Steelers win, that gives them the victory. That secures the division title. That guarantees them a home playoff game. And you cannot dismiss what fixes this football team. And if you are Mike Tomlin, you are Arthur Smith, and you ignore this message from us here at Mike Drop Sports, from me, Jason, you ignore this message to get these tight ends involved, you are making an absolute grave mistake, and I will stand on this and die on this hill, my friends. The Pittsburgh Steelers can fix this so easily. So very easily. The answer is right in front of your face. The test question, there's only one of them. And you can easily ace this test by doing one simple thing, and that is passing the football to that tight end room and leaning on them like you've never leaned on them throughout this whole season. That's what fixes it. That's what answers the question for the Pittsburgh Steelers, my friends. All right, guys, make sure you join in tonight for that live show. Again, that'll be about 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just turn on your notification bell, and it's easy. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. Liking these shows is so imperative, so make sure you do so. Also, I want to throw in another thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers don't utilize enough, and that's those drag routes. And when you start to get those tight ends involved, you are going to be able to open up that drag route type game, man, where you can have Calvin Austin coming underneath, getting your playmakers that have speed and athleticism into space, creating good, solid opportunity. Also, you could do that with a Mike Williams, a Van Jefferson. Those guys could really shine, even a Jaylen Warren that has speed and agility. Again, guys, those routes aren't being utilized enough, but I think that all will lean off of whether you can utilize that tight end room enough and be effective enough with them in order to open those things up, because it opens everything up, my friends. It opens the whole thing up, and I've been sitting here stewing on this since last night, and I can't get away from it. The Pittsburgh Steelers have an opportunity, and you can't waste it. And if you're Mike Tomlin, you deserve to be fired if you don't recognize this easy solution. You are Arthur Smith. You deserve to be fired if you don't recognize this easy solution. I'm sorry. The answer is super easy, and the answer is right in front of your face. And if you can't recognize it, you have no business being the head people of a franchise, of an offense. I'm sorry. It's just super simple. I watched the tape. You watch the tape. They watch the tape. They know the answer. Everybody knows the answer, and it's time to unleash the beast. All right, guys, again, make sure you join us tonight for Steel City Live about 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports. We appreciate you stopping through. See you on the next one, my friends. Peace.